Thanks, Ambesh. Hi everyone, my name is Arpit and welcome back to the last session of this event. And today in this session I'm gonna present all the advanced feature of the PowerApps portal. So this session is bit technical and for for the portal developers actually. So let me quickly share my screen. So a brief introduction about me for those who recently joined the session. My name is Arpit Shravistava and I'm a Dynamic 365 consultant. I'm working in Capgemini, India. My email ID is arpit@dynamics.community. I'm a consultant, I'm an architect, and I write blogs. I'm a 365 Saturday ambassadors who run the mentorship programs. So after the session, if you have any queries related to the portals or the Power Platform, you can connect me through various social media channels. You can. I recently started my YouTube channel, so you can subscribe me to get all the latest updates related to the events and all the slide decks. Let's quickly begin with this session. So, as I told, I'm going to discuss about all the latest features and the enhancement that Power Apps Portal actually currently provide. So, the main agenda of this session is how the Power Apps portal is integrated with the with the Power Platform. So one of the major difference if you find between the Dynamic CRM portals and the Power Apps portal. So I'm quite have a close relation with the portals because I'm working in the portal from last 2 and 3 years, and I'm working since the AD Studio versions was there. So I worked in AD Studio, then Dynamics portals, then now I'm working in the Power Apps portal. So I have seen the growth of the portal. I've seen the differences in terms of the features that Microsoft has provided. So if I talk about the major difference between the Dynamics 365 portal and the Power Apps portal, the major difference is the Power Apps portal is completely integrated with the Power Platform features. So in the earlier portal, that in the Dynamics 365 portals, we had a lot of limitations like if we have to perform any operation in the Dynamics 365, we only had entity forms and the entity list option available. We do not have exposure to create some kind of calling APIs and all. We were not had option to call the web APIs of Dynamics CRM. But now using this Power Apps portal, it provides the the bidirectional integration with the Power Platform feature. So how you can see my Power Apps portal is integrated with the Power Automate, the Power Virtual Agents, Power Apps, and the Power BI. So in the next 1 hour, I'm going to share the details how you can integrate these all the 4 components of the Power Platform with the Power Apps portals. So let's first discuss about the feature that how the Power Automate is integrated with the Power Apps portal. So it actually fulfills a lot of requirements. Like I already told you, like in the earlier portals, we did not had any option to perform any CRUD operations. So we only had the option of entity forms and the entity list. So using that, we can only perform the update of the data, create of the data, and delete of the data. But in most of the cases, when we have to bind some custom HTML table or we have to create some custom HTML grid, then in that case we did not have any option to perform or push the data directly in the Dynamic 365. The second option is pass input output parameter from the portal to the common data service of the Dynamic 365. So this is also one of the major enhancement. So using the Power Automate, we can easily pass some information from portal to Dynamics and Dynamics to portals. So which fulfills a lot of requirements. Third one is the use fetch XML as a web API. So one of the major limitation, if you have worked with the portals so the fetch XML we use to retrieve the information from the CRM, right? So there are two ways to retrieve the information from CRM. One is OData and second is fetch XML. So fetch XML is one of the best way to retrieve the data from the dynamic CRM in the portal. But one of the major limitation of the fetch XML was we cannot call the fetch XML or execute the fetch XML on demand. So if I have a requirement like I have to execute my fetch XML on button click or on some other events or on demand, then it was not possible earlier. And the second limitation was the order of the fetch XML execution. So if you are running your fetch XML on a page, it always run its execution order is always one. So if you want that, you want to perform some logic, then only fetch XML will trigger. Then that was not possible in the earlier version. But I'm going to share a few important tips that how you can use the fetch XML as a web API so that you can, use it as per your need. And obviously, I'm going to share, some tips that how you can design the editable subgrid. It's a bit mature actually. It's not, you can compare it with the dynamic 365 editable subgrid. So I have designed actually, last week I have actually created a editable subgrid and performed a lot of CRUD operation in the dynamic 365. So I have provided the editable subgrid only for the text field as of now, but I'm for the other types of field like Boolean fields and date time fields, lookup fields, I'm currently working on it. So I will update you. So let's quickly have a look that how the Power Automate can be called from the Power Apps Portals. So here's my portal. Okay, so I have configured one portal and I have designed one page. If you can see here, there is a one page I have designed called editable subgrid page. Okay, so this page is completely customizable. Okay, I did not use any entity form and entity list kind of feature of portal. I've used completely customizable page. So here you can see I just use simple HTML controls. So here a few text control I have used, and there is a button, and I just use a simple HTML table. Okay, so those who have a very basic understanding of the HTML or the jQuery or the CSS, they can easily design this kind of grid. Okay, so I've recently written an article on this, so you can find the code of this subgrid also on my articles. So this is just a simple UI where I'm providing this option. Now how I can perform the CRUD operations. So on click of save, I just want to push this information in the dynamic CRM directly. I just want to update the record directly from this grid. So you can see here, when I'll click on this edit, I can update that information. But as of now, you can see that I am able to update only the text fields. I have not provided the option for other option set and the lookup fields. And I can simply update that. I can also delete that. So I can provide the option to delete as well. So as you can see here, there are 4 operations I can perform from the single screen. I can create the record using save button. I can update the record. I can delete the record. And obviously I am retrieving the record from the dynamic 365 in order to bind it to the HTML table. Okay. So let's have a look how I have written the code of this. So here's my code, editable HTML subgrid. So I've just created a sample web page, and I've just go to the copy HTML, and I've just written a simple HTML table and script only. So as you can see here, I have written a very simple HTML table. So uses CSS and all. So I just wanted to show you that how I am creating the record in the Dynamic 365. Okay, so here's my code. So here's the save button click. So in the save button click, what I'm doing is I'm just creating a sample JSON file. Okay, so those who are aware how to call the HTTP request and how to get the HTTP response, they can easily get it that this is my HTTP request URL. Okay, I should not hard code it here. I should put it in either in the site setting or in some encrypted way. But just for the demonstration purpose, I just hard coded the value here. So this is the URL. Okay, HTTP request URL. I'll quickly demonstrate it you from where I get this URL. So this is the URL, and I just need to call this JSON file to this URL, and once I'll request this, I will get the response here. So once I'll create this, once I'll save this request, it actually calls this request. It actually calls this HTTP request and get the response here. In the same way, I am doing for update as well. So if you can see here. So this is for the delete. So this is simple, just 4 to 5 line of code, just a JSON request URL and just getting the response. Yep. And this is for the update. Okay, let's have a look how I got this URL actually. So I'll just quickly go to the make.powerapps.com. So I have designed one Power Automate. It's just a simple Power Automate I have designed with the 5 steps. So I need to add a step when a HTTP request is received. So this is one of the control that you can easily find it in the Power Automate. So this is the control which actually listen that who is calling this request. So once you add this particular control and put your sample JSON in this, what you need to do is let's say this is your sample JSON. You just need to copy it. Just remove this, some dynamics values and just put the hard-coded values. And just click on this payload to generate schema and paste your the JSON file here. So I have some variable declaration here. That's why it's giving me the error. So you just need to so you can find it this sample JSON from my blog also. So you just need to paste the sample JSON, and in this JSON you can see I have provided what information I'm providing, the action parameter where I'm sending the information whether I want to perform the create, update or delete operation in my database. I'm sending the first name parameter, last name parameter, email parameter. So it depends on whatever information you want to pass from portal to the Power Automate. Okay, so yeah, so I have just paste this JSON file inside this, and I'm just using this variable get origin. So the purpose of this variable is, so once I'll save this Power Automate, I will get this URL. Okay, so this URL I'm actually using in my in my editable subgrid. So this is the URL I got from the Power Automate. Now the problem is that if someone will get this URL, they can call it directly from any of the sources, right? They can call it from the C#, Java, PHP, .NET, any of the languages, right? So there is no kind of restriction that should be some kind of restriction that just should be the request should be come from the PowerApps portal. To restrict that things, what I'm doing is I'm just getting the origin. So once someone requests this URL, I will get the origin in the header. Okay, so I've used this value, like I'm using this simple expression that you can find it in the Google, that I'm just getting the output, I'm just reading the header and just getting the origin value. So that means I am just getting the origin value from the header, and header is basically nested inside the output. So this is the way I'm getting the origin. I'm just storing this origin value from where the request is being originated in the get origin value. Another variable I have actually used to store the created record GUID, because once the record gets created in the dynamic CRM, I need its GUID. Why I need its GUID? I need its GUID because if I have to update the record, if I have to delete the record, I need the GUID. That is the basic concept of CRM, right? So for that purpose, if I am creating the record, I just need to return back the GUID of the record as HTTP response. Now what I'm doing is in my apply to each, I've just put the condition. So in the condition I'm checking it, my origin should be PowerApps Portals. So you need to specify here your domain in order to restrict that the request is being originated from the PowerApps portal. So you can just replace, so if you are using Dynamics Portals or dynamicsportals.com, or if you are using some other domains, if you are using some client domains, and also you can replace this domain here. And I just wanted to make sure that this action is for the create. If the action is for the create, then I will simply create a record in the CDS, and the variable that I have declared earlier, I'm just saving the GUID of the record. If the record is if the action is not for the create, if the action parameter contains the update, then I'm updating the record. Or the other condition, if the action parameter contains the delete, then I'm deleting the record. So it's just a if else condition, and I'm just performing the action based on the action parameter. And the last step I have used as a response. So the record GUID that I got from this step, once I created the record in the CDS, I'm just passing as a response. So I have just added the step in the Power Automate HTTP response. And if I got the 200 status scores, then I'm returning the GUID. So if I'll go to my Power Automate, I'm getting the GUID of the record. So if I'll go to the create record, you can see here in the request.response, I'm just getting the GUID of the record. So this will help me to identify the record if I want to delete or update the record. So this is the way I am communicating. This is the way how my Power Apps portal is communicating with the Power Automate or the Dynamic 365. So this is about the create, update, and delete. Now let's have a look how I am retrieving the record using fetch XML. So for that, I have written one. So as I told you that the limitation of the fetch XML that we cannot perform the action on demand. So let's see. I have designed one web template that is a lead JSON. Okay. So this is the simple syntax that I actually use when I have to write the fetch XML inside the liquid template. And what I'm doing is I'm just converting the response of the fetch XML in the JSON format. Okay, so once my fetch XML will execute it, I am just retrieving all the values and just returning it and just keeping the information in the JSON format. In order to return in the actual JSON format, I just need to specify the meme type. So if you go to here, so I have just specified the meme type to applications/JSON. That means if I'll run this web template, it will return the result of the execution of the fetch XML in the JSON format. Okay, but there is no way in the Dynamics portals to directly run the web template. We need to associate the web template with the web page somewhere. Okay, so let me quickly, yeah, so this is the web page I have just created so that I can associate my web template with the web page. So just created a web page and just created a page template, because in order to associate a web template, you need to have a page template as well. So I just associated my lead JSON web template with the uh, page template and associate this page template with the web page. Now how I can get the result? So I can quickly show you the result is I just need to place the portal URL, and you just need to get the partial URL of that web page. So if you hit this URL, you get the result in the JSON format. So let's so see this. So you're getting the result in the JSON format. Now this is the URL through which I can get the fetch XML result. Now it's up to you that how you want to call this a URL, whether you want to call this URL on the button click or on the onload of the page. So you can decide the order of that page URL call, and you can decide the the execution way of this URL. So let's go back to the editable subgrid, that how I'm calling this URL. So on the top of the page, because when you load this editable subgrid, the data appears on the load of the page. So what I have done is, on the load of the page, this is the here is the code. So if you can see here in the document.ready function, I'm just calling this URL. I should not I can just do it in this way also. So I'm just placing the URL, giving the data type as JSON, because I'm expecting the result in the JSON format, and I'm just getting the result and binding the data in the HTML format. So just simple is that. Now how I can so currently I'm call this fetch XML on load of the page, but how can I do it on the button click, as I promised that we can do it on demand as well. So in the editable subgrid, I have provided these refresh icons as well, right? So I can click on the refresh and I can get the updated data as well, in case if I'm not getting the data on the load of the page. So there is an icon available at the end of the page. So if you can see here, yeah, so this is the refresh icon. So on the click of the refresh, I'm writing the same code. I'm just calling that web page URL, getting the JSON response and binding it to the HTML table. So you have seen that using some customization and by little tweaks that how we can perform some CRUD operation. So this is just a very simple example of editable subgrid, but you can you can implement a lot of requirements by using these kind of concepts. So this is the one feature of performing CRUD operation. Oh, let's quickly have a look. So this is the data. Let me click save. The record has been created. As you can see here, the new record has been created in the grid. Interested to learn PowerApps portal. And if I go to the CRM, if I refresh it, you can see here this Arpit record is there. A new lead has been created. Let me update it. I'm just changing this Srivastava to consultant and will update the record. Record has been updated. If I'll go to my lead page, let me refresh it. As you can see, the name has been changed to Arpit consultant. Now last thing, I just wanted to delete this record. Let me delete it. Record has been deleted. Done. Go to the screen, refresh it. So Arpit consultant gone. So you just seen that how I'm performing the CRUD operations using this Power Automate and PowerApps Portal communication. So we have seen the four things, how you are passing input and output parameter between your portal, your common data service, because we are passing input as a JSON and we are getting the record GUID as a output parameter from the dynamics. One of the major limitation in the entity list, you have seen that in the entity list there is an action option is there, right, through which you can directly perform the on-demand workflows directly from the entity list. So you get the drop down in front of each records, and then you can perform directly the on-demand workflows. But the major limitation of this thing is you cannot pass some parameters from the portal to that on-demand workflows. So for these kind of requirements, you can simply use Power Automate. Let's have a look. The second requirement: how can I embed the Canvas app in the PowerApps portal? So that is the second pillar of Power Platform. So what is the business requirement of embedding the PowerApps, or sorry, Canvas app in the PowerApps portal? So since morning we are seeing that how easy to design the Canvas app, right? If you have to design some complex UI design, we can just simply drag and drop the controls without need to write any kind of custom code, some HTML or CSS kind of things. We just drag and drop the controls on the screen, and we quickly play with the apps, right? So let's quickly have a look how I have designed this. So if you can see here, I have embedded this Canvas app page. Okay, so this is the sample Canvas app available in my Canvas app. So here is in the Canvas app page, there is a Canvas app available. So I simply embed this Canvas app here. I have an overview features. You can simply write this option features. So you can imagine, right? So if you have to design such type of feature on the portal, if you have to design the same UI on the portal, you need to deal with a lot of HTML, you need to write a lot of CSS, JavaScript, and you have to be very expert in the jQuery and all. So in brief, you have to write the code. But you can see I didn't write a single line of code, but I'm able to see such kind of UI, right? So let's have a look at how I embed this Canvas app in my portal. So it's very simple actually. So I have created a web page. called Embed Canvas app. I'll go to my content snippet, sorry, on the localized content. And what I've done is I've just written a simple iframe. So if you can see here, just let me copy paste it, place it here. If you can see here, I just add a simple iframe, and this is the URL I got from the PowerApps. So if your Power Canvas app is using some geolocation feature, you are embedding some Bing map or Google map, so you can allow geolocation by passing the parameters. If you are using some audio phone or microphone or camera, so these kind of features, if you are using inside your Canvas app, then you can simple pass the parameter to allow this app. How you can get this URL? You just need to simply run your Power App. So this is my Power App. Any app, you can take it. So you just need to run the app. I don't have any app available actually. I just created. Okay, so what you need to do is, so let's suppose this is my Canvas app. So you just need to run that app and just need to copy the URL and paste it inside the iframe. Okay, so that this URL will remain same. Only need to change is this part. So this is your app ID. Okay, you can get your app ID by going to any of the Power App. So let me quickly create an app. Let me create a sample app. This is actually the separate environments. In the morning, I have actually given the Canvas app demo with a different environment. That's why. So I need to create one Power App just to show you that how you can get the app ID in order to place it in that URL. So I'll just quickly save this. Yep. So let me refresh it here. So if you need, so here's my new app available. So if I want to get the app ID, you can just simply go to here, go to details, and here you can capture the app ID of the app. You need to simply place this app ID here. That's it. So you just need to copy paste this URL and wherever you want to place it, you can easily embed your Canvas app. But the one thing I just wanted to highlight here is, as you know, that Canvas app is currently supported for the internal Dynamics 365 user. It's not being shared with the external like the portal features provide, right? So you need to have the Azure AD authentication enabled. So currently I'm logged in with the Azure AD authentication enabled. That's why I'm able to do that. So my user should be there in the Azure AD, whether it's a guest user. So if I'm using Azure AD B2C or I'm using Azure AD, in both the case it will support it. Okay, so in case if you are using some external authentication like LinkedIn, Yahoo, Gmail, or some Facebook kind of authentication, then it will not support. The second limitation is that you need to have the PowerApps license, obviously. So if you don't have any PowerApps license, then you won't be able to use this feature. So that is the main thing you need to think about it before using this Canvas app. So this is the second feature, that how you can merge the features. You can show the PowerApps inside. The third important pillar of the Power Platform is the virtual agent. That how you can show the Power Virtual Agent in the PowerApps portal in order to provide some chatting features. Okay, so chatting feature is very important, and it reduce the load on the internal employees. So let's have a look. So I have designed one sample page like Embed Virtual Agent. So let's assume this is a 365 Saturday portal and I am attending. Okay, so I'll just I don't know that how to register on the event. So I don't want to bother Raz or anyone from the 365 team. I just quickly open my 365 Saturday portal. I'll just quickly open the chatbot and say hi. So I get the response, hi, I'm a Power Community Virtual Agent. Please handle me finding yourself. So whether you are an event organizer, you are a speaker or an attendee. So I'm attendee, so I'll select the attendee option. What is the issue? How to join the event and how to register. So I just wanted to know that how to register on a particular event. So I'll just click on the how to register. So I get the details that go to HTTP portal page, find list of event on home page, click on event details, click on register for event. Do you find this information useful? I will say yes. Did I answer your question? Yes. Great. Please rate your experience. Excellent. Thanks for your feedback. Can I help you with anything else? Thanks. That's it. So you can see that how I can interact with the virtual key agent. So it's not it not only provide this simple chatting features, it actually connected with the other Power platform features, like we can easily call the Power Automate behind the scene. So in case, let's suppose I am attendee, I have registered for the portal, but I did not get the Teams invitation, right? So I simply ask the chatbot that I didn't get the team invitation link. Can you help me with that? So I can run my Power Automate in behind and can create a case, and I can create a team meetings as well, and I can generate the teams as well. So these kind of features we can easily provide using virtual Power Virtual Agents. So I'm not going to give more detail about how to design this virtual agent, but it's very simple. You just need to drag and drop the control. You just need to provide some topics, and you just need to place it over virtual agent. Once you create your virtual agent, you need to publish it. Once you publish it, it gives you the URL, and in the same way, if you can just quickly show you if it is already there. Okay, let me click the web pages. So like the way I embedded the Canvas app, I can embed the virtual agent as well. So let me quickly open this embed virtual agent. Open this page. Yeah. So yeah, I just place a iframe, and this is the virtual agent. So I just place the virtual agent, and I just put some CSS just to place according to my need. Yeah, so this is the feature of virtual agent that we can embed with the Power App. Let's have a look. Option to write code in the PowerApps portal. So those who are the portal developer were working in the PowerApps in that earlier portals, they fairly know that what are the other options we can write the PowerApps portal code. So PowerApps portal actually support the HTML, CSS, Bootstrap. So if you are a good designer, if you have a good knowledge of HTML, CSS, and the Bootstrap, you can design your page. It supports JavaScript, jQuery, AngularJS. So if you have to write some kind of client-side scripting kind of code, then you can write your JavaScript, jQuery, AngularJS as well. It doesn't support actually C# code, any kind of server side of language. If you want to use the server side language, then you need to get the the code of the Power Apps portal. Then that doesn't support by Microsoft actually, so you cannot go with that. So, and you will not be able to leverage the the online features and the online updates of the Microsoft if you are going with that. So in the out-of-box portals, currently there are three client-side scripts are supported. You can write JavaScript, you can write jQuery, AngularJS, and obviously we have a very good feature available as a liquid template. So liquid template is kind of language that actually provide by the portal that you can use to show some dynamic content. So, the one of the major use of liquid template is if you have to get some context data. For example, I'm designing a page and I need to have the logged in user information. I need to get the logged in user Gmail, email ID. I need to get the logged in user name, and I need to fetch data from some related entities and all, and wanted to bind in the HTML table that I demonstrated here in my last slide. So this kind of feature you can easily do it in the liquid templates that you cannot do in the HTML and the JavaScript and jQuery. Basic option one wanted to let you know that there are different option available in the Power Apps portals to write the JavaScript code. You can write the code in the web pages. You can write the code in the entity form, entity list, and you can write the code in the web template as well. So I have shown you the different ways to write the code, but one of the major question is that why Microsoft has provided these kind of options, right? If the custom JavaScript option is already there on the web pages, so if the custom JavaScript option is already there on the web pages, then why it's provided on the entity form and the entity list? Because if I have to expose my entity form or the entity list on the portal, anyways I have to associate with the web page. Then why I need the custom JavaScript in the two places? The reason behind this is that if we want to, show the entity form, the entity list, it is not required that you associate with the web page. You can show the entity form and entity list without the web pages as well. So if you have to write the script in the entity form, then if you have to write some script, then you obviously need an entity form. So I'll show you later that how you can show the entity form and the entity list without using web pages. So this is the reason that why Microsoft has provided this the option to write the JavaScript on the different features, entity list, entity forms, in the web template. But one of the major recommendation from my side to use or to write the script is the web template, obviously, because there are major features of using web template. That web template is only control available in the portal that support fetch XML, that support HTML, that support CSS, that support jQuery, JavaScript, everything. So this is the single control available where you can write everything, right? So if I have to write this JavaScript, this fetch XML in my web page custom JavaScript, then it is not supported. So I can write only JavaScript here. I cannot write the HTML. I need to write some DOM in order to support the HTML. But if I have if I have to write simple simple JavaScript and jQuery, then I'll use this control, or I can place my CSS over here. If I have to write simple HTML, like I have designed editable subscript, then you need to place it in the copy HTML. But if you have a requirement that you need to use the mix of everything, you have to write the JavaScript, HTML, CSS, jQuery, then the best option is to use the web template. And this is not only the advantage of using web template. The major advantage of web template is it is reusable actually. So I'll come on to that how you can use the web template code in across the portals. So you don't need to write the same code again and again. So I would recommend to use the web template to write the custom JavaScript. Let's move on to the another feature that customize the Power App Portals UI. So I think that is one of the major question that has been asked on the various communities, that we can customize the portals. So I think there was some limitation in the Dynamics 365 portal in terms of UI designing, but I think after integrating it with the CDS and after integrating it with the PowerApps portal, its UI got enhanced much. So if you have to customize some out-of-box pages, so let's assume so let's say I have a custom HTML page. Okay, so this is this is a simple HTML, simple web page, and if I have to customize it, I can easily do that. I can write the script, I can write the JavaScript and all. But there are few pages available in the portals where you don't find much information about it, right? So if I'll go to the sign in page, so you don't usually find the uh, much exposure or much options to customize your sign-in page, because this sign-in page, this registration page, this redeem invitation page is been designed through the C# code. Okay, so you cannot change the functionality that is being written behind this register button. You cannot change the functionality that is being written on this register button. Same for the sign-in button. So I often, ask by a lot of people that how I can customize the sign-in page, how can I customize the home page, registration page, and all. So for that, I have just written this simple content snippet. So for these kind of pages, like for sign-in page and for the registration page. Yeah. So if I have to customize these out-of-box pages of the portal, the sign-in, registration, and redeem invitation, I need to create a content snippet for that. So content snippet is also one of the major feature of the PowerApps portal. It was there in the AD Studio and the customer self-service portal as well. So you need to create a page copy. So you can find this information. What should be the name of this content snippet on my blog also. So what should be the name of this content snippet for the sign-in page, for the redeem invitation page, and for the registration page. So you just need to create a content snippet with this name, and you just need to select the HTML. So you have two values, text and HTML. If you just wanted to place some simple text, you can just select text, but I want to change the UI of the HTML. So I've just hard coded currently. What I want to do is I just wanted to customize. I just want to add few fields on my registration page. So this is my client requirement. I just wanted to have some custom page, some custom fields. Like I currently am having email, username, password, and confirm password. But I want to have few more fields as per my client demands. That I need to have first name, last name, company name, and the address as well. Okay. So I just recently changed my code. Let me refresh the portal. Version, so sometimes it doesn't support. Okay. Let me sign out. Go to the sign page. Go to the registration page. So you can see that I have customized this page and I added few more fields: first name, last name, address, and company. Okay. And this is the way, and it's up to you, because HTML is option is there, so you can write, you can show some background images, your banners, and you can customize your pages as per unit, because you are allowed to write your script, and you are allowed to write the CSS, and you are allowed to write your HTML. So you can customize your registration page. The same way you can customize the sign-in page. We just need to create a new content snippet and just replace the register with the sign-in only. Okay, and the same for the redeem invitation. So this is the way how I can customize the registration page. Now one more important feature that I wanted to show you is the caching. Okay, the portal has its own cache, but being a developer, there might be some requirements where I have to pass the information from one page to another page. Okay, so there are a lot of requirements where I have to pass the information from one page to another page. So one way you can pass the information in form of query string, but I think if you have to send some JSON or some some long string, then I think passing the values from one page to another page using query string is not the good way. So, so the way I just wanted to support the use cache to store data locally in the portal. So how I wanted to show this option is, so let me register myself. Providing. So I'm just taking the screenshot of this. So what information I have captured on my registration page. So once I register here, so this is my registration page. And usually when you register on your portal, you redirect to the profile page and you have to fill this all the information manually. But you can see like my whatever information I have filled up on the registration page, it automatically got popped up here. Arpit CRM, and I have placed the last name, address, and Capgemini. So all the information, organization name, my email ID, resident city, Dynamics community. So everything got auto-populated here. So how I have done this, I have actually used the local storage feature. So in the content snippet page, my registration page, what I have done is on key up feature. So it's up to you actually. You want to store the information in your cache on button click or on your mouse over or whatever it is. So I have just used the key up feature. So whenever anyone entering the first name, I just store it in the local storage. So local storage is one of the one of the best feature of the HTML through which you can keep your information in your browser local cache, and once you close your browser, then that information will get lost automatically. So this is one of the best feature of it, and you are also allowed to clear the local storage cache on demand as well. So as you can see here, I am just capturing the first name value on key up and just setting the information in the local storage. The same way the last name, company, and the city. Now on my profile page, I just need to capture this information as well, right? So I'll just go to the profile page, go to the content snippet, and I have written a simple 4 line of code. So there I have just get the value. In the content snippet, I just set the value. Here I'm just getting the value and just placing inside the control. So I'm just using a simple code over here. So there is the way I'm passing the information from my registration page to the profile page. So this is the way how you can pass the information from one place to another place. And if you can see here in the profile page, I'm just clearing the cache as well. So if you can see here, once I'm available on the profile page, the information will get lost from the local cache. So you can manage the clear cache as well. Uh, there is one more features that you want to incorporate in the portal that redirect user to the default page after login. There is also, I hear about this kind of requirement that my client wants that when I log in on the portal, by default the user comes to the home page, right? I wanted to redirect the user on the particular page. To do that, we have a web template. I just written a simple code of it. Let me show you. Yep. So this is a very simple code that you can write. That this is the liquid template syntax. If user means you are checking whether user is logged in or not. If the user is logged in, you just need to replace the location href to the page where you want it to land it to. For example, if I want to redirect user to the forum page once user successfully log in, then I just want it to replace the forum page. If you want to redirect to the editable subgrid page, I can simply put the editable subgrid. In the same way, I can provide this. So this is a very simple line of code you can write if you want to redirect user to the page that you wanted to. So these are the different options, the way you can customize your portal UI. The last thing that I wanted to discuss with you quickly about some important tips and tricks for portal developers. So this is a very important tricks from the developer perspective. First thing is the reuse web template. So like I told you, of the portal through which you can simply reuse your web templates, reuse your code as well. So let me quickly open a web template. I have two web templates. There is a source web template. Let me open this. And I have a target web template. Here it is. So I'll just show you that how I can, first I just wanted to show you how I can pass the information from one web template to another web template. So you can see here, here is in the source web template, I just written the code, hello, my name is user.fullname. So this is the way you can get the logged in user information. So you just need to place the schema name here instead of full name, and you can get the logged in user information. So this is only for the logged in user, not for the other entities. So user is nothing but the logged in user, and if you want to get any information of that logged in user, you just need to place the attribute name, schema name. So I can get the name of the user, and this is the syntax I'm just using to include the web template in this source web template. So I have one target web template as well, where I've written hello, my email address is user.email address. So if I want to use one web template in the another web template, so this is the way you can do that. You just need to use the keyword include, just pass the name of the web template name. So this is the way you can manage the communication between your two web templates. Now the question is, can I pass some parameters from one web template to another template, because there might be a lot of requirement where I have to communicate between two web templates. To do that, I have one more template, this one, and this one. So in the target web template, so I have one source web template and I have a target web template. So in the target web template, I just written a fetch XML. Okay, but that fetch XML actually retrieve the contact information where email ID equal to a particular thing. So I want to retrieve the contact where email ID equal to this. But I don't want to keep this information, keep this email ID hard coded. I just wanted to pass it from the other web template. So if you can see here, I'm just putting the fetch XML, but the email ID equal to email ID. So I'm not keeping the email ID hard coded. I'm going to pass this information from my other web template. Okay, so here my source web template. So what I'm doing is I just create a way. So this is the way how you can declare a variable in the fetch XML in the web template, actually in the liquid template. So I've just assigned a variable email. I'm just passing my email ID, and I'm just including the target web template that I have demonstrated earlier, and I'm just passing the email ID and passing this variable. So what I'm doing is, this is my parameter name and this is the parameter value, like the way we pass the information in the query strings. So this is my parameter name. So in my target, I'm just using this. So this is the way how you can communicate between two web template. Now, once my fetch XML gets executed, I just want to pass the result back to the source web template. So what I'm going to do is, once I include this, I can access everything inside this web template here also. So context fetches result is the variable where I'm storing the result of the fetch XML, and here I'm getting the size. That is the way you can count the length whether you are retrieving the data or not, and I'm getting the full name and the email address. So this is the best way you can utilize your fetch XML. And you can reuse it as well. So for example, the same code you have to write again and again, right? So you don't need to write it again and again. You just need to simply include that fetch XML or include that particular web template inside your other web templates. Use of portal out-of-box entity to write configurable code. So if you are writing your code in the web template, you can use some out-of-box entities. For example, if you have to, if you have to pass some text values, rather keeping as a hard coded in your web template, just keeping it in the content snippet. Because I've just shown you when you create a content snippet, there is a two kind of value you can store. First is value, second is HTML. So you can keep your all the hard-coded text values or the string values inside your content snippet, and you can include that content snippet the same way you included the your web template. If you have some configuration data like key value pair of kind of data, because in your when you work in the dynamic CRM, you need to keep a lot of things in the configuration. But portal support the out-of-box configuration entity called site settings, where you can keep a lot of configuration data in the form of key and value pairs. So you can get the site settings inside your web template. So try to use the out-of-box entities as many as possible, just to make your code configurable. Role-based form security is also there. So if you have a kind of requirement that you have to show the forms based on different roles, so portal supports various web roles. So using that, you can simply in the web template you can find that what is the logged in user role. So like in the web template, I have demonstrated you if user, that means if user is login. But if I just simply put if user dot role, that means if user has a particular role is there. So if you can get the role of the user, and based on the role, you can redirect the user to the different pages or the forms. Display multiple forms and the list on the portal page. If you have such kind of requirement where you have to include multiple forms and the multiple entity list on the page, then this is simple syntax available. Multiple forms, so you just need to include entity list and just name of the list. Include entity list and just need to pass the entity list. Same way for the entity form. So this is the way you can include the multiple entity list and multiple entity forms on the page. But just think about it. I have just included this entity form directly in my web template. So this entity form is not associated with any web pages. So if I have to write some script in this entity form, then only I can use the custom JavaScript option of entity form that I told you earlier. So this is the way how you can include multiple entities. UCI tab in portals. So this is one of the code I have written for this. So this provide you the UCI kind of features. Like if you have long form, you have to do lot of scroll up and down. To minimize that, you can use a simple UCI tab kind of features. You don't need to scroll down and up, and you can simply go at this tabular format. So this is just a simple bootstrap CSS I have used along with the JavaScript code. There are few things you need to keep in mind from the portal performance perspective, that there are few simple Boolean field available on the portal: web page tracking, web file tracking, and login tracking. So these Boolean fields should not be enabled, so because it impact the portal performance badly. You need we have some site settings available like header, footer, output, cache, so that allow users when you open the portal. So every time if every time your header and the footer of the portal will get loaded, then obviously your page performance will get impacted. So to avoid that, you can just simple create a site setting: header, output, cache enabled, and for footer just need to create a footer, output, cache enabled, and just set this value to false. sorry, true. Just to know this. Large number of web file record, you can avoid keeping multiple files in a web file records, because it obviously create a lot of performance issue. So the alternative option available to keep the records in the Azure Blob Storage, because Azure Blob Storage is more cheaper than the Dynamics 365 database expenses. Entity form lookup configuration. So portal allow you to convert your entity form lookups to the drop down, but you should avoid these features from the performance point of view if the number of records in the lookup table is very high. It support till up to 100 records, but if you have the records in the lookup table more than 100, then you should avoid using this feature. You should limit the number of web rows, so try to minimize the number of web rows. There is no such kind of limit that how many number of web rows you need to use, but if you have 20 or 30 kind of web row, then you should avoid this. Use async or defer or preload HTML attribute to load the file asynchronously. So this is kind of some kind of HTML attribute you can use just to load your CSS file or the JavaScript file that you have referred in your HTML code in the JavaScript code, to load it asynchronously. Because if you are not providing this kind of tag, your JavaScript will load along with your code, and it will impact the portal performance. So that's it from my side. All the important tips and tricks that may be helpful in your real-time projects. Thank you. Any questions? If you have, then you can ask me. Thanks.
Thank you once again, Arpit. That was a very, very in-depth session on developing portals. You'll be hard-pressed to find a session as in-depth and covering such scope for portal development as this one, Arpit. So once again, thank you so much for that. Everyone's just giving positive feedback. Cheryl, thank you. Yeah, Cheryl saying thank you so much. Ricardo, again, he's asking for where we can find these examples. I'm sure they can find it from your blog. Arpit. So yeah, if you can just post your blog in the chat, I think a lot of people will be interested in following your blog there, Arpit. Yep, so Satya, Jatin, Jazeri, Pooja, Saritaz, Venkata, Sunita, Durga Prasad, everyone saying thank you so much. You're getting a lot of applause from the attendees. So a very good session, I have to admit, Arpit. You covered a lot of ground there. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ground covered on the development and extensibility of portals. I mean, does anybody have any questions? Obviously, he did cover a lot he did cover a lot of ground. Is there still confusion around authentication? I believe Arpit answered the question related to. He's saying here, Evangelist is asking the question: you have used the HTTP origin request header to secure the request, but my understanding is that the origin can be spoofed, faked, and passed by another client. Am I wrong? So, okay.
I think there are some other ways as well, to restrict that. So currently I have provided a restricted user from the origin, but there are some other parameters as well through which I can restrict that from where the request is being originated.
Okay, Evangelist. So yep, so that was obviously an example. But yeah. So are there any other questions?
There was one question related to the SharePoint integrations. I think, as per my knowledge, because I've done SharePoint integration in my last project, so once we enable the SharePoint integration, so when you configure your portal, it actually create a portal application in the Azure Active Directory. And once you enable the SharePoint integration from the admin center, you need to have a global administrator rights And once you enable the SharePoint integration, it asks your permission that the portal application that is available in the Azure Active Directory would like to have access on the SharePoint sites for the Azure AD users and the Azure AD B2C users. Okay, so once you allow this, then all the Azure AD users and the Azure AD B2C user can directly create a folders and the SharePoint files inside that. So as per my knowledge, it doesn't work in the context of dynamic CRM user login to create the folders. It actually work in the context of Azure AD users. So if you are using some external authentications like LinkedIn, Facebook, or Yahoo, then I don't think it supported the SharePoint integration, because in that case you are not authenticated in terms of Azure AD. But if you are using this Azure AD authentication, and if you are using the Facebook, LinkedIn, and all the external authentication inside the Azure AD B2C, because Azure AD B2C also provide you the external authentications, then only you can do that. So the key point is your user need to have in the Azure AD, whether it's a guest user or whether it's a actual user or member. Yep.
Good point. And Venkata's asking about knowledge base articles. So Venkata, when you say how can we achieve knowledge base articles, knowledge base articles are a CDS component. So are you asking how to use them within portals? Obviously, I'm guessing that's what you're asking. So Venkata, I'm guessing you've not seen the customer service portal that provides the KB feature, or are
I
you
think
asking how?
in order to expose the knowledge article, that is there in the CRM, there are few settings you need to enable, and I think in the KB articles there is a drop down, internal or external, through which if you are setting the value of KB article to external, then only it will be exposed to the portal. And there are few site settings and some KB articles configuration you need to make in the CRM for that, but KB articles out of box integration is available in the portal.
Okay, so Venkat, so basically I'm hoping you got your answer there. So there are some config settings you do need to do to enable that. Yeah, he's happy with that. So Durga Prasad is asking, how can we implement filtered lookup on entity forms?
So filter lookup is out of box supported, like the way it works in the dynamic CRM, it out of box support on the portal as well. So you just need to configure, for example, you need to, you have two lookups, country and the city, and you want to filter cities based on the country. So what you do is you just need to open the form in the CRM and just need to configure that, right? So you just need to make the configuration in the CRM, and it is out of box supported on the portal. The only thing that is not supported is the some custom kind of filter, because in CRM you can provide some JavaScript in order to write some complex filtering, right? But that is not supported on the portal right now. We cannot write a script on that, but the out of box filter of lookup is supported.
So Durga Prasad continues, but if we want to implement based on the login user, how do we do it? So Durga Prasad, that is the approach. It's how it's how you configure entity forms. It's a feature of web templates and entity forms to be able to configure those objects.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question, Durga Prasad? I think, have you actually configured a portal? Because once you actually configure the portal, it is a setting, it's a feature to be able to configure. So Durga Prasad, so you don't have to do any extra development. It does work, whether you're a logged in user or you're not a logged in user. It does provide the ability to pass through the logged in users persona contact, so you can track records based on the performing user who's maybe creating records or using the value. So in short, it's part of the feature of portals to provide those lookup features for you. and Parikh saying, can I render filtered lookups as a pick list? Lookups renders differently in portals. So there are some.
Yeah. So if you convert the lookup into into drop down, then obviously you will not be able to leverage the lookup features that it provides. You cannot use the filtration. Then you need to provide some custom JavaScript code. Then only you will be able to filter the big list.
Yep. So Parikh, just to reiterate, so Arpit's gone a level further. So in short, what he's saying is that you can, but because it's a lookup, it requires the object for it to appear as a pick list item. So you just have to be wary of what you're doing there. So yeah. So Satya is saying the newly created records in Dynamics does not appear in the portal immediately, even if the change tracking is enabled for the entity. Is there any other trick except to clear cache? Satya, what version of portals are you using, if you don't mind me asking? Because I've not seen that problem for a while now. Arpit, have you?
No, even in the 365 Saturday, we did not face this issue. Actually, in my earlier project, we had this kind of issue that we had a development instance, test instance, and the UAT instance. So it was working fine for the test and UAT instance. What it was there specifically for the dev instance. So our change tracking was there, and everything setting was enabled, but still we were facing this issue. So we just raised the ticket with Microsoft, and they told that they had some kind of settings, or they had some kind of issues related to that particular instance. That's why this issues was there. So sometimes this is due to some specific instances actually. So whether so I think it's good to connect with Microsoft for this if you are having this kind of issue, because the change tracking is the only way that publish the changes to the portal immediately.
Yep, spot on.
It is with the latest version, and it is like multiple instance has been faced with the same issues. So the record been added, but it is not been reflected in the UI. And once the clear cache has been requested on demand by the admin user, then it get basically reflect, which is basically real blocker issues.
So one thing to add here, like clear cache don't work for all the entities which you just mentioned, because if you have a entity like an example product or something, it's not work for that. Clear cache meant for the predefined entities which is related with the portal development, like an example content snippet or the web template or the page template, something like that. So if you are really facing the issue, since in all the environments, definitely you need to go for the support ticket. If it is on-premise portals, definitely you have a way to make a trick like which you ask it actually, but online, because everything depend on the service buses, and once there are a few bunch of changes has been like loaded, then it will go and refresh this stuff. So if it is real issue, then you need to definitely go in touch with the Microsoft support.
Okay, thank you.
Satya, what region is your instance? Is it CRM4, CRM11, CRM? Like, what's the region code?
It's CRM11.
CRM. So that's Europe, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. Because I haven't seen that problem since the past year or 2 years. Before it was a common issue, but it no longer it's been an issue ever since Microsoft re-architected the change tracking and Azure change tracking features. It's never been an issue. So as Ambesh and Arpit have mentioned, you just log a support request, and the support team will investigate what's going on there, because it doesn't seem very normal behavior. So Parikh is saying, can we use CMT for selected records which have been changed? CMT
is a configuration migration tool, so I don't think so, Raj, in that case, because CMT work on the schema, and schema work for the complete records for that particular entity.
But that's changed, hasn't it? So the configuration migration tool, there's a new feature which allows you to filter the entity.
Yep. So you can allow, you can filter the records. For example, you want to, it allows you to put the fetch XML query over there. So if you want to update only, the record that you wanted to update only, then you can do the filtration in the configuration migration tool itself.
You do need to download the latest SDK, the NuGet package for Dynamics, and it will be included in the latest NuGet package.
Yes, but I think in that case we need to change the schema as well, right? We need
to
modify
you have to change the schema. Why would you have to change the schema?
To just go for the upsert.
To go for the upsert.
I think the schema only needs to change when you want to change the entity in which you want to push. But if you just only wanted to update the record in the same entities that is there in the schema file, then I don't think you need to change the schema file. But yeah, if you have to change the entities, for example, earlier you imported the account and contact, the web files and the web pages, but now you only want to import the web pages, then in this case you need to update your schema file to import only web pages.
Okay.
But it's noteworthy for people who are not aware. What Ambesh is saying is that the schema file is a massive dependency. So if you're the configuration migration tool will only work when the schema is like for like, which is very, very important for the entity state for it to work. Even if you wanted to, even if there is a filter feature, if the entity is slightly, the metadata is slightly different from one environment to the other, it won't work. So that's a very important note just for you to be aware of. For those who are going to use the configuration migration tool, that is a limitation. The schema has to be like for like, otherwise it just will not work. You're going to have to use an ETL, some sort of ETL tool otherwise if that's the case. But as you're aware, all your environments should be like for like. So as a best practice, that should be the case anyway. Now I know it's getting late in India. It's very late for Arpit especially, so I wanted to know. I think when it comes to the portal questions, I just want to respect Arpit's time. He's already gone above 20 minutes over his session. He's had a very long day. So is it okay that we put an end to Arpit's session so we can get some rest? I want to say big thank you to Arpit as well as Ambesh and all the speakers. If there's any other speakers that are still logged in, I think most of you have left already. But I want to say a big thank you to all of you today. A lot of ground was covered today. What I want to do is keep this open for more question and answers. Arpit, you're free to leave. I want to again thank you for your session. It was a very good session. And yes, do you have any final notes or message for